They told me I only worked there for 7 days. But I remember 3 months. The doctors keep saying the same thing. 7 days. A week. Like it's a number that should make sense to me. I nod, because it's easier than arguing. But when I close my eyes, I still see the bus, the snow, the hallway clock stuck at 6:53 a.m. Time doesn't move right when I think about it. It folds. It repeats. It eats itself. I'm recording this because someone needs to know what happened. Not the version in the report, not what they wrote on the discharge papers, the real thing. I just need to tell it once, so maybe it'll stop looping inside my head. This isn't some story I made up in the hospital. It happened. And if you ever get a call offering a delivery route to Gravesfield High, don't take it. Please. Just don't. It started simple enough. I was a delivery driver for the Burlington School District. Cafeteria lunches mostly. Cardboard boxes, lukewarm trays. The same routine for almost a year. I didn't love it, but it paid the bills. Then one morning I got called into the office. The district supervisor said they were transferring me. Temporary position, she said. Better pay, small town. I remember hesitating, asking how far it was. She smiled like it was no big deal. 2 hours east, she said, near the woods, place called Gravesfield. I almost said no. I should have said no. But when she slid that paper across the desk, double pay, housing covered, it felt like a sign. I'd been living paycheck to paycheck since the divorce. Maybe this was my break. Maybe life was finally giving something back. When I got there, the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. No traffic, no birds, just snow falling in thick, slow flakes. The school sat in a clearing, red brick walls half buried in frost. There were footprints in the snow leading to the entrance, but none coming out. Mrs. Delaney, the principal, met me at the door. She smiled, too long. "Welcome to Gravesfield High, Mr. Leary," she said. Her voice was warm, but her eyes didn't move, like she was remembering the words instead of saying them. She handed me a badge and a list of drop points. "The clocks in this building run 7 minutes slow," she added. "It's part of our system. Don't change them." I laughed, thought she was joking. But she didn't laugh back. That was the first thing I should have written down. The first sign that time doesn't work the same in that place. 7 minutes slow. 7 days gone. And I still can't tell which one of them I'm living in now. I used to think routine could save me. Same streets, same routes, same cheap coffee dripping through a paper filter at 4 a.m. I've been driving delivery vans around Burlington for almost a year before they called me in. The job wasn't glamorous, but it was predictable. And predictable was good. After the divorce, I didn't need excitement. I needed something that stayed where I left it. That morning started gray, the kind of sky that looked half asleep. My supervisor waved me into the office without looking up. The air smelled like printer ink and cold toast. "Got a transfer for you, Leary. Temporary position. Pays double." I thought he was kidding. Nobody gets double pay for school lunch runs. "Where?" I asked. "Gravesfield, small town east of here. They need a driver through the winter. Housing's included. You'd start next week." He slid a manila folder across the desk. My name was already printed on the top sheet. I remember staring at it, feeling like someone had decided before I did. "It's a good deal," he said. "They're short-staffed." I almost said no, but debt talks louder than doubt. So I signed. By Thursday, I was loading the van before dawn. Snow flurries caught the headlights like static. The radio flickered between weather reports and dead air. Somewhere past Montpelier, the signal vanished entirely. All that was left was the hum of the engine and the sound of tires rolling over ice. The road twisted up through the mountains. Pines leaned in like they were listening. When the sun came up, it didn't warm anything. It just turned the snow from black to gray. Around 10, I saw the sign. "Welcome to Gravesfield." Someone had scratched out the population number. The town was quiet. Too quiet. Storefronts half buried in snow, windows dark. It looked frozen mid-breath. I parked near the school, the only building with lights still on. Red brick, 2 stories, steam rising from a vent on the roof. A yellow bus sat out front, idling, though no one was inside. Mrs. Delaney met me at the door. She had a scarf wrapped twice around her neck and a clipboard in her hand. "Welcome at Gravesfield High, Mr. Leary," she said. Her handshake was firm, polite, but her eyes didn't blink as much as they should have. "You'll find your living quarters behind the cafeteria," she continued. "It's comfortable. You'll be handling deliveries, a few short routes, and occasional pickups." She stopped walking for a second, then turned toward the nearest hallway clock. "One more thing. The clocks in this building run 7 minutes slow. It's part of our internal schedule. Don't adjust them." 7 minutes? I asked. "Why not just fix them?" "Because they're not broken," she said, smiling faintly. "They're aligned." She didn't explain what that meant. She didn't have to. Her tone made it sound final. I spent the first evening unpacking. The apartment behind the cafeteria was small. 2 rooms, 1 window, a heater that sighed more than it worked. Outside, snow kept falling, but never seemed to pile up. I remember setting my phone on the nightstand. The time read 6:53 a.m., though the sun was already setting. I reset it twice. It changed back on its own. The days settled into rhythm fast. I'd load trays at dawn, drive the van to each stop, unload, sign, smile. Students polite, teachers distant but kind. Everyone moved a little slower than they should. Conversations dragged like old film reels. Once, I asked a teacher what day it was. She blinked too long before answering. "Thursday. It's always Thursday before it snows." At the time I laughed. I shouldn't have. The radio in my van only picked up one station, a local broadcast that repeated the same 3 songs on loop. "Take It Easy" by the Eagles, "Dreamweaver," and an instrumental I didn't recognize. Between tracks, a man's voice announced the time. 6:53 a.m. every single time. I assumed it was a glitch. By the 3rd week, I started waking before the alarm. The sky always looked the same. I'd check my watch, check the wall clock, check the van. All 6:53. No matter how long I stared, the minute hand never jumped. It just trembled. That's when I met Jonas Pike. Maintenance guy. Built like a truck, voice like gravel. He was repairing a vent behind the kitchen when I brought in the lunch crates. "You're the new driver, huh?" he said without looking up. "Yeah, Mark Leary." He nodded, smearing grease across his wrist. "Word of advice. Don't mess with the clocks." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "That's the 2nd time someone's told me that. What happens if I do?" He wiped his hands, looked straight at me. "You'll see," he said. "Just don't fix them. Trust me." There was a long silence. I heard the heater click on, then off again. I tried to brush it off, but after that, I noticed things. Subtle things. The cafeteria clock was 7 minutes behind my watch, but when I stepped outside, my phone jumped back to match it. The lights in the hallway flickered in sync with no pattern I could follow. Once I saw Mrs. Delaney standing in the courtyard long after sunset, her breath fogging in slow motion, like time was choosing when to let her exhale. Still, nothing bad happened. Not yet. If anything, life got easier. The paycheck arrived early, the meals never spoiled. Every Friday, the snow melted just enough for delivery routes to stay open. It was perfect. Predictable. And for the first time in years, I felt calm. But calm doesn't last in Gravesfield. Sometimes I'd catch myself repeating tasks, restocking the same shelves twice, greeting the same student twice, driving the same stretch of road that curved the exact same way. I thought it was fatigue, but fatigue doesn't make you see your own tire tracks in fresh snow. By what I thought was the end of my third month, I'd stopped checking clocks entirely. I didn't trust them. I trusted the rhythm, the smell of coffee, the thud of crates, the scrape of my boots on tile. I told myself it was fine, that maybe peace was supposed to feel strange when you weren't used to it. But every night just before sleep, I'd hear the faint buzz of the hallway clock through the wall, and somewhere under it, a second sound, like something behind the metal, trying to keep up. Everything was normal, perfectly normal, and that's what scared me most. The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the normal kind, not the peace after lunch quiet schools usually have. This one felt heavier, like the air itself forgot how to move. Tick, 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 tick. Sometimes the sound came from the hallway clocks, sometimes from the pipes. Always off beat, like a heartbeat pretending to keep time. I told myself it was nothing. Winter fatigue, cabin fever. But the faces around me started changing in small, quiet ways. Students still walked in pairs, but they didn't talk. Teachers moved like they were underwater. No laughter, no echo. Just those scattered ticks falling in and out of sync. One Tuesday morning, the static on my van radio cleared, just long enough for a voice to slide through. Rule 1. Never change the time. I froze, the metal tray halfway to the shelf. The whisper didn't sound broadcast, it sounded close. Too close. When I turned, the snow outside the loading bay hung in midair for a heartbeat before falling again. The radio hissed back to static. That night, I kept hearing the words replay. Never change the time. Over and over. By dawn, I decided to test it. Curiosity is a slow form of suicide, I guess. I climbed onto the counter in the kitchen, staring at the clock above the serving line. 6:53 a.m., as always. My phone said 7:01. Just one small difference, but it felt like a wound. I reached up, turned the knob forward 1 minute. The hum of the lights deepened. The metal vent rattled once like something moving inside. Then the hands of the clock spun backward, fast, stopping exactly where they'd started. 6:53. I laughed, but the sound didn't feel like mine. When I came back down, the heater had stopped. Even the fluorescent buzz was gone. The only sound left was my heartbeat. I told no one, but the next morning, no one remembered me. My badge didn't scan. My key didn't fit the storage room door. Teachers greeted me with that polite smile people use with strangers. Mrs. Delaney asked if I was the temp filling in for the driver who never showed up. When I said my name, she just nodded slowly, pretending to understand. At lunch, I saw Maya Hill sketching alone by the window. She used to wave every morning. This time, she didn't look up until I passed. Mister, she said, weren't you the new guy yesterday? Yesterday? I asked. Maya, I've been here for months. She frowned, pen still in her hand. No, sir, you just got here. Then she hesitated, whispering almost to herself. It resets, doesn't it? Before I could ask what she meant, she shut her notebook and walked away. The rest of the day felt wrong. The cafeteria clock blinked faintly, like an eye trying not to close. Every door handle I touched felt colder than it should. I went to find Jonas Pike in the boiler room. He was the only one who might remember. But when I found him, he looked at me with the same polite confusion. You must be the new guy, he said. Need help with the circuit board? He didn't recognize me, not even when I repeated his name. Jonas, we talked last week, I said, about the clocks. He wiped grease off his fingers, frowning. We haven't spoken before. He turned back to the pipes. Conversation over. I walked the halls for hours after that. The lights flickered every time I passed beneath them. The walls hummed like distant machinery. Through a classroom window, I saw a group of students sitting perfectly still while their teacher wrote the same sentence over and over on the board. Time is alignment. Alignment is order. The sentence filled the board twice. Then it vanished, replaced by the same clean slate. By late afternoon, snow had started again. Fine, dry flakes that didn't melt on glass. The intercom clicked once, then played nothing. Just the empty channel breathing. I wandered into the cafeteria. The clock there glowed faintly, secondhand twitching in half-beats. I couldn't look away. Every few seconds it tried to move forward, then snapped back. I felt the same pull in my chest, like something inside me wanted to rewind too. Then I heard footsteps behind me. It was Mrs. Delaney, holding a clipboard, her shoes silent on the tile. "Mr. Leary," she said, "you shouldn't be here after hours." I turned, searching her face for recognition. "Do you remember me?" I asked. "You hired me 3 months ago." Her smile didn't move her eyes. "I've only met you today." I pointed at the clock. "Then tell me what time it is." She followed my gaze, lips parting slightly. For a second she looked unsure. 6:53, she said finally. "Same as always." Her voice trembled just enough for me to notice. When she left, I stayed. I don't know how long, maybe minutes, maybe hours. The snow outside fell in slow motion. My reflection in the clock glass blinked half a beat late. I reached up again, fingers brushing the plastic cover. The second hand stopped moving. Then the light surged bright white, too bright, and everything snapped silent. I stumbled into the hallway. The floor felt soft, like it was breathing under my boots. Every door I passed opened just a crack, showing the same empty classroom behind it. Same desks, same clock, same moment frozen on 6:53. At the far end, the exit sign flickered between red and white. I reached it, pushed through, and found myself standing back at the cafeteria door. The hallway had folded. I turned around, breathing hard. The air smelled faintly of copper. My reflection stared at me from the glass of the vending machine, but it blinked first. I remember whispering, barely above breath, "This place isn't keeping time. It's keeping me." The lights pulsed once more. Every clock in sight glowed at once, faces white and blind. Tick, tick. The sound slowed, then stopped. 6:53 a.m. Exactly. Always. Time had stopped pretending. I started keeping notes because memory stopped meaning anything. Dates didn't hold, hours melted. So I wrote down everything I could. Names, times, smells, the order of footsteps in the hall. I needed to prove that something was real. The first few pages stayed. Then they began to vanish. Not torn, not erased. Just blank when I opened the notebook again. Words I remembered writing were gone, leaving faint indentations in the paper like ghosts of thought. So I began numbering the pages. The first pattern I noticed was simple. Every 7th entry disappeared overnight. That's when Jonas found me in the storage room, flipping through empty pages. "You're wasting ink," he said. "It doesn't like that." "What doesn't?" He shrugged, lowering his voice. "The cycle. We call them the rules. Keeps the week from resetting." The rules. The word stuck in my head like a nail. He leaned closer, whispering the list as if the walls were listening. Rule 1. Don't touch the clocks. Rule 2. Don't change your route. Rule 3. Never deliver meal number 301. Rule 4. If someone asks you the time, don't answer. He didn't explain what they meant, only that everyone who broke them disappeared. Between days. I wanted to laugh it off, but his eyes didn't match his grin. He looked like someone who had already broken one and lived long enough to regret it. That night, I tested the second rule, the route rule. My deliveries were mapped in a loop from the main road to the north dorms, then back to the kitchen. I'd driven it 100 times. so I took the wrong turn just to see what would happen. The snow muffled everything, the engine, the hum of the heater. The road curved left, then right again. 5 minutes later, I was back at the main gate. Same sign, same half-buried footprints. I drove slower the next time, marking turns on paper. Still ended up in the same place. The GPS showed the van spinning in circles. I shut it off and sat there for a long time, listening to the faint hum under the dashboard. It didn't sound mechanical. It sounded alive. The next morning, my notebook had new writing in it. My handwriting, but I hadn't written it. Keep the rules or lose the week. I stared at the words until they blurred. Then I tore out the page and burned it in the sink. The smoke smelled like metal and snow. Later that day, Jonas caught me staring at the cafeteria clock. "You were right," I said quietly, "about the clocks." He wiped his hands on a rag, watching me carefully. "I wasn't warning you," he said. "I was reminding myself." When he left, I looked at the wall again. The clock's second hand jerked twice, then stopped. The hum of the building rose in pitch until it sounded like breathing. I tried to focus on the work, loading trays, signing forms, staying in rhythm. But the forms changed too. Numbers on the delivery sheet shifted slightly each day. One extra column, one new slot. The count kept climbing. By Thursday, the count had reached 301. The last one had no destination, just a name. Mine. M. Leary. I tore the page out, checked the kitchen inventory. 300 meals stacked neatly, no extras. But there was an empty tray left open on the counter, and I swear it smelled faintly like my cologne. I threw it out, but when I came back an hour later, it was there again. That night I couldn't sleep. The snow outside pressed against the window like a slow tide. The lights flickered every 7 seconds exactly. I timed it with my breath. Every flicker, the wall seemed to lean closer. I decided to find Mrs. Delaney, demand answers. Her office was dark, door cracked open. Papers covered the floor like fallen leaves. On the desk sat a small radio, still humming though it wasn't plugged in. The sound wasn't static. It was whispering. "Stay aligned, stay aligned, stay aligned." I backed out slowly. The hallway outside had changed, longer than before. The floor tiles stretched farther than the light could reach. My footsteps didn't echo anymore. They dissolved. When I reached the exit, snow was falling sideways again. The same bus sat idling near the curb, windows fogged from inside. I opened the driver's door. Empty. The engine was warm, though the key wasn't in the ignition. The dashboard clock read 6:53. I drove. North, then west, then wherever the road led. Each turn brought me back to the same intersection, the one beside the school's front gate. I circled 5 times before stopping. Every time I passed the gate, the snow looked slightly different, like a film loop misaligned by a frame. I got out of the van and screamed into the wind. "What do you want from me?" The echo didn't come back, just the faint, offbeat ticking of the clock in my head. When I returned to the kitchen, the empty tray was gone. In its place was a folded note written on cafeteria paper. "You delivered it already." The edges were still wet, like someone had just finished writing it. That's when I started to understand the rules weren't about order. They were about containment. If we followed them, time stayed trapped. If we broke them, it tried to fix itself. I spent the next day watching everyone else. The teachers moved like they were counting steps. Students never looked directly at the clocks. Even Jonas avoided the hall with the loudest ticks. I saw someone break the 4th rule. One of the younger cafeteria workers, a new face, was unloading milk crates when a student asked him the time. Just a casual question. He laughed, said, "It's 6:50. Before finishing the word, he froze. The carton dropped from his hands, splattering the floor. He stood there, eyes blank, lips moving silently. Then he just turned and walked into the hallway. No one followed. The next morning, his name tag was gone, his locker empty. I checked the attendance list. His name had been replaced by mine. twice. That night, the wind outside was too strong to hear the ticking, but I felt it under my skin. Every light flicker matched it perfectly. Every breath fell into its rhythm. Maya found me near the loading bay again, snow in her hair, watching me like she'd already seen what I was going to do. "You'll see the seventh day soon." "What happens then?" I asked. She tilted her head, eyes flat. "It's not a day, it's a choice." Then she turned and walked into the dark, leaving no footprints behind. I sat in the van for hours afterward, staring at the frost forming on the inside of the windshield. It traced shapes, circles, numbers, arrows pointing nowhere. When I exhaled, it cleared just long enough for me to see one phrase written backward on the glass. "Keep the rules." I wiped it away, started the engine, and told myself I could still leave. But the gas gauge didn't move. Neither did the time. Outside, the snow kept falling upward. The clocks had stopped lying. The rules weren't made for us. They were made to keep us. The order came in at dawn. Handwritten. Smudged like someone had touched it with wet gloves. The number at the bottom read 301. I stared at it for a long time. The ink looked darker than usual. Heavy. Wet. My name was stamped next to it. Driver M. Leary. I told myself it was a mistake, a printing error. But the kitchen was already awake. Trays lined the counters, steam rolling like breath. Jonas handed me a clipboard without looking up. "You're late," he said. "Jonas, there are only supposed to be 300. He didn't answer. His hands didn't stop moving. He loaded the final tray into the van himself. I tried to stop him. "Don't, not that one." He looked at me like I'd said something meaningless. "It's part of the cycle," he murmured. "Someone has to take it." Then he walked away. The smell hit me first. Metal. Ozone. Like rain on copper wires. I almost gagged. The lid of the last container trembled against the clasp. Red light leaked from the seam, soft at first, then pulsing like a vein. I closed the van door, tried not to look, tried not to breathe. Outside, the snow had stopped. The world held still. Even the wind refused to move. I started the engine. The dashboard clock flickered once. 6:53. Again. I drove the route exactly as written. Every turn perfect. Every stop in place. My hands shook on the wheel. The trees leaned too close to the road, branches bending like they were trying to listen. When I reached the last stop, a small house near the woods, the yard was empty. Curtains drawn. No sound but my breathing. I grabbed the tray. It burned cold through the gloves. The red light inside brightened, spilling across the snow. It didn't cast shadows. It erased them. My reflection shimmered on the metal lid. For a second, I saw two of me, one standing outside, one behind my eyes. "Just deliver it," I heard. I don't know whose voice it was. The front door opened. No one stood there, just air moving wrong. I stepped inside. The hallway smelled like dust and old electricity. The light from the tray painted everything red. My footsteps didn't make sound. I stopped in front of a door marked Infirmary. Someone was breathing inside. I pushed the door open. A boy lay in the bed, sheets pulled to his chin. Pale skin, eyes open but unfocused. His chest rose and fell like something was helping it remember how. The radio beside him hissed, then cleared. "You should have waited," Maya's voice said. My throat closed. I looked around, but there was no one. Only the boy, the static, and the red glow spreading across the walls. The lid clicked open by itself. Light filled the room. I couldn't look at it. It wasn't light, it was movement. The air folded inward, bending like fabric being pulled too tight. I saw shapes in it, hallways, clocks, my own hands moving out of sync. The boy's eyes turned toward me. He smiled. My smile. Then everything tore. Sound vanished. The walls peeled away into fog. The floor cracked like glass. I fell forward. No weight, no air, no gravity, just motion, endless and wrong. When I hit ground, the snow was new again, clean, untouched. My van sat parked near the gate, frost still melting from the windshield. I was standing exactly where I'd been 3 months ago. Or 1 week. Or 1 minute. The radio hummed. Route confirmed. Delivery in progress. I looked down. The clipboard was in my hands. The first order form stared back at me. Meal 001. My breath came short, too fast. My chest hurt like I'd forgotten how to breathe properly. The cold didn't bite anymore. It filled me. I walked to the back of the van and opened the doors. Inside, trays gleamed under the dull light. All normal, except one. The 301. Red light seeped through the seam again. Same pulse, same smell. Metal, ozone, like something I'd already seen made real. I slammed the door shut.
The echo came back half a second late.
No, I whispered. No, I already did this. I turned, and through the fog I saw myself, the other me, walking toward the van from the opposite side of the lot. Same uniform, same steps. He didn't look up. He moved like he was following a script. Hey! I yelled. Stop! He didn't stop. He climbed into the driver's seat. The engine roared to life. The van pulled away, tires cutting through snow that didn't leave tracks. The red glow followed it down the road until it disappeared behind the trees. I was alone again. Then I heard footsteps, slow, crunching the snow that shouldn't make sound. I turned and saw another figure walking toward me. Not me this time, but close. His face half lit, eyes blank, mouth twitching between words I couldn't hear. He stopped inches from me. You shouldn't have delivered it, he whispered. Now there's no place left to send the rest of us. He reached out. His hand passed through my shoulder like smoke. The air rippled. Behind him, more shapes appeared. Shadows wearing my posture, my breath, my mistakes. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all walking in loops. The world bent. The horizon folded like paper. The snow rose, swallowing the road. The sky broke into shards of gray, turning slowly in place like gears grinding to a halt. I ran. Past the gate, past the empty houses, into the woods. My heartbeat hammered louder than the crunch of snow. The trees swayed in reverse, branches curling toward the ground as if bowing to something invisible. The ground pulsed beneath me. Every step landed out of sync with the sound that followed. My reflection chased me from every patch of ice. The forest opened into light. It wasn't sunlight. It was red. I fell to my knees. My breath came in broken gasps. I pressed my hands into the snow, but it wasn't cold anymore. It was soft. Hollow. My fingers sank through and found nothing beneath. The world was hollow. A shell. A loop waiting to restart. The ticking sound returned, slow, steady, almost human. Tick. 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 The echo came from inside me. I looked down. My chest pulsed with each sound. My reflection shimmered on the frost forming across my jacket. It was smiling. You should have waited, Maya said again, closer, right behind my ear. I turned and the forest breathed out. The trees exhaled light. Everything began to dissolve, slowly, deliberately. like the world had decided to unmake itself one heartbeat at a time. The last thing I saw was the van parked where I left it, headlights on, engine running, waiting for me to finish the route. I wasn't escaping. I was being replaced. The light hurt. When I opened my eyes, everything was white. Walls, sheets, even the air. The smell of disinfectant stung the back of my throat. Machines hummed like faraway insects. I tried to move. My arm felt heavy. Tubes ran from my wrist to a monitor that blinked in slow, patient rhythm. A voice came from somewhere above me. "Mr. Leary, can you hear me?" I turned my head. A man in a white coat leaned over, eyes kind but distant. His badge read Dr. Holt. "You've been missing for 7 days," he said gently. "Not 3 months." The words landed wrong. They didn't fit inside my head. 7 days, not 3 months. I tried to speak, but the sound came out cracked. Where am I?" "St. Johnsbury General Hospital," he said. "You were found near the old Gravesfield Road. Hypothermic, dehydrated. Lucky to be alive." Lucky. He smiled the way doctors do when they don't believe it themselves. Then he checked the monitor, scribbled something, and left me alone with the hum. The window showed a pale sky, snow drifting sideways. I stared at it until my eyes blurred. Somewhere under the blanket, my hand twitched, searching for the notebook that wasn't there. My phone lay on the bedside table, cracked screen, half battery. I picked it up with trembling fingers. Photos filled the gallery. Students I didn't recognize. The cafeteria, the van. The clock on the wall read 6:53 once more. Every picture showed the same time. Even the shadows matched. But the last photo, the one at the very bottom, was dated tomorrow. The image was just snow, flat, endless white. And in the corner, almost erased by glare, the faint outline of a person standing beside the van. Me. The monitor beeped faster for a moment, then steadied. I set the phone down, breathing slow. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. There was ink on my wrist, faded, half-washed, written in my own handwriting. "Don't deliver 301. I rubbed at it, but the letters clung to the skin like they'd been burned there. Something clicked beside me. The small recorder on the tray blinked red. I didn't remember bringing it, but when I pressed play, a voice came through the static. A girl's voice. Quiet. Close. "It's the 7th day again, Mr. Leary." The machine clicked off, and the clock blinked back to life. 6:53. Again.